So many people think like, why hasn't it happened yet? They get so antsy and impatient, man. It's just so common, especially because, like Instagram, everything, like you see the highlight really like, yo, just constantly is feeds you with, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I want to be there. I want to be there. It's like all these, that's the downsides of social media. It makes us not want to be patient through that process.
Right. I agree. Yeah. And we're all kind of guilty of it when we're young because, like you said, we do want stuff to happen fast. So that's why, like, when I was a kid, I remember going to see this band that I loved and giving them my band's tape. And, like, thinking back to it now, that tape was horrible. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think so at the time. At the time, I thought it was great. But, like you're not, people send me, they'll be like, hey, man, I made a song. It's the first song I ever made. What do you think? And I'll be like, it sounds, I don't know what so usually if I'm going to say something negative, I don't even reply. But what you want to say every time is, it sounds like the first song you ever made. And it sounds like something you don't need to be sending out.
I love talking to artists about that leap though, from, their home state, Kansas, sorry to be cliche, to LA. I think that shit takes so much courage to me, man, having done that shit myself. Just tell us that actual leap, right? From Maryland to LA and how bumpy, how many bumps were there for you when you just got here?
Well, and it's interesting too, because what you just said, so many people, especially a few years ago, would always tell me like, it's just so dope that you had the balls, you had the courage to go to LA. And I'm just always like, I had a car. I got in it and drove, dude. It ain't rocket science. You got a map? You know what I'm saying? You don't even need a map now. You got Siri or whatever. Like I don't know. I didn't.
That never registered for you. You're saying when people would tell you that.
I never registered that it was an act of bravery. If I'm being dead honest with you, I think it's because my move to LA was interesting because I first moved to San Diego. And that was when I moved to San Diego, I was in that phase of like, I ain't even trying to do music for a living. I was working on an album and working on songs, but it was all under the guise of fun. And, I already had a couple like fans and whatnot anyway from my old band. I was just going to have fun with my brother, and he moved to San Diego. So I did too. And I worked construction in San Diego for a year. And then really what happened is the relationship I was in went sour, and I was really sad about that. And I think part of the reason the relationship went sour is because she saw that my life wasn't going anywhere. So that almost made me, I really should fucking thank her for all the stuff, because she was a big inspiration. Like her leaving made me reevaluate my own life, and then part of my early stages of achieving in Los Angeles was kind of on some, like, I'll show her, you know what I'm saying? So
wow.
I'm not the first story like that either. A lot of people are trying to prove something to somebody. Yeah, it was the freestyle in the car type of videos that really got some level of popularity. Well, I was still broke, but I was still obviously I was very broke at that time. I mean, you might remember that I was pretty broke then.
Yeah, but that's what makes it cool, though. That's what makes it cool to me is like you see your shit's connecting and you probably think, oh shit, there's possibility. And I just walk us through that excitement and like what it felt like. I just want to hear you verbalize it.
My problem is I don't really get that excited, like I wish I could tell you like, oh, I was jumping for joy and so happy that people were listening to my music or whatever. But I don't really get excited. My problems in life is I don't get excited. You know what I mean? All I do is I was looking at like, what do I got to do next? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not thinking like, I don't stop and smell the roses, especially at that time. And I think in some cases it's natural, instead of just like kind of like being like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're like, okay, I got to work. Head down is what they call it. Your head is down. You're not looking up and thinking like, oh, this is going well. You're kind of more just thinking like, well, I better keep this going because it could fucking not happen at any second. You know what I mean? So I guess that I was just kind of trying to keep it going, making more songs, and we started making videos and, trying to keep shit going. I tell people all the time when that new Crack video came out, I used to spend an hour or so every day just going to other people's videos that were kind of like a video by Eminem or Royce the 5'9", or like somebody rapping on the street or whatever, somebody like I'd look at videos where I'd be like, people who like this are gonna like my shit. And I just make comments. I do spam comments on other videos for like an hour every day. You know,
you put on that grind yourself because there's really nobody else to put in that grind.
There's nobody else.
Right?
Nobody else. And I didn't have money to pay somebody. I should. Wow. And what I say is like, I did that a lot when I first started. I should have kept doing it. Should have done it every day. You know what I'm saying? Like all that little stuff adds up. You know, I've still had so many people say that that's where they found me. So they're watching like Proof and Eminem freestyle in car and saw some comment that said, if you like this, you're going to like this too.
There's this meme of like one dude at a podium and like this audience of like 500 people. And he's like, who wants change? Everybody's hand goes up. Who wants to work for change? Nobody's hand goes up, bro. Right. And I feel like that's you in those hitting those comments and doing that hustle. Like that's hard work. That's like,
you gotta work.
That's not sexy at all. Not sexy to think, you know, I'm going to fucking grind here for 2 hours on Bill Nye number 84, you know, his handle, whatever.
And it's funny too, because at that time, first of all, at that time, rapping on YouTube, it's not like now. Like back then, like rapping on YouTube was like some really, really nerdy shit that you get made fun of for. You have to battle through like people doubting you, people making fun of you.
I mean, everybody, even if you're dope, is going to catch hate. Yeah. What did the negative shit feel like?
Everybody's different with this shit, but for me, if I read 100 comments that say you're awesome, and then I read one comment that says something negative, that's the one I'll remember, you know? And especially the negative comments especially hurt when they're true.
There's a quote that's dope as fuck that said, every master was once a disaster. I fucking love that quote. You have to let yourself be shitty at something until you're good, bro. Right. But if people start knocking you when you're in your process towards becoming a master, some people will stop just altogether and not reach their potential, bro. So segue there.
And that's another reason why people should be careful about putting their first song on the internet to be judged, because like a lot of people will be judged poorly and they'll be like, oh, I must not have any talent and I must not be any good. But the reality of it is that nobody was good on the first time. If you read your comments, it will, like, you don't have a choice. If stuff sticks in your brain, positive or negative, you don't have a choice. You could tell yourself like, I'm not going to let these comments affect the way I think or affect the way I work or affect the way I view myself. But you don't have a choice what your brain retains. You know what I'm saying? If you read a comment, you can't say, you don't have one of those Men in Black things that erases your memory. There's a reason why people with big egos do well in the world, because they don't let that shit get to them at all. They could give a fuck. You know what I mean?
That's a jam.
You know? Part of just like this ultra confidence where you're just like, where you really believe that you're the shit, which is not something that I have, but I have it like, so it's something that people like me like have that when they're on a stage, you know what I'm saying? But in regular life, in everyday life, you're just not like that. But some people are like that. I've met people like that. You've seen that documentary, right? The
Social Dilemma?
Yeah.
I've been hearing about it. I haven't heard it. Seen it. I gotta watch. Gotta watch. Okay,
100%.
Cool.
Because there's effects of social media beyond getting negative. I mean, you know, there's girls that are fucking 17 that are going into plastic surgery.
Lip injections. Yeah.
Well, they're saying, I want to look like I look in this filter.
Oh, fuck.
Because these girls are 14 years old, and when they post a picture of themselves without the filter and then with the filter, the one with the filter will get 300 likes and the one without it will get 100 likes. So they're fucking prettier with this stupid filter on. So they want to look like the filter, and they go to a fucking doctor and tell them they want to look like the filter, and they feel bad when they fucking don't get enough. You know, it's one thing for us, we're adults, you know, but for kids, this shit has a lot of negative to it, you know?
Yo, we haven't seen that. I'm glad you brought that up, bro, because we're in a social experiment right now. We haven't even seen the effects of what this is right now. For all we know, like the social media shit and the likes and all that, it could be like equivalent to smoking on planes in the 70s. Remember they used to let you smoke on planes and the fucking...
Oh, yeah.
We could be in that moment right now.
That's a perfect analogy. I talk about that. I use that type of analogy all the time. Our grandparents, they didn't know that smoking was bad. In like the 30s, you'd go into a doctor's office and they sometimes even, you know what you need for your cough? You need to smoke a couple Winston Lights. You know what I mean? That, you know what that is right now? Driving your own car. 30 years from now, they're going to look back and be like, I can't believe they had 1 million car accidents every year when now nobody drives their own car and there aren't any car accidents. That's going to be the equivalent, that the amount of deaths we get in car accidents is going to be looked at like the amount of fucking smoking deaths we got back when people thought it was legal.
That's brilliant.
You know? That's a positive use of technology until the fucking wrong hands get a hold of the technology and make all the cars fucking crash at the same time, Sam.
I think another theme on the podcast, bro, is like these false starts. You know, people think, oh shit, this opportunity is looking good. And then it just like poof goes away like that. And then, you know, and then you kind of have to feel that sort of that pain or that letdown. You know, when you and I were working together, right? Mm-hmm. And I was managing, I feel like you and I, there was a dude named Vince Herbert. I don't know if you remember that dude, but he managed Lady Gaga. Okay, managed Lady Gaga. And you and I had been like grinding for a minute, actually, I think, right? At that point. And then I reached out to Vince, and this dude, I don't know if you remember this, but this dude canceled the meeting. Yeah, this dude canceled the meeting like 8 times. Lady Gaga this is right after what, Paparazzi, or when was she like the biggest thing on the planet? Like right then.
I mean, pretty much then until now, you know, the whole time. Yeah. But she was big then. Yeah. She was blowing up.
This dude pushes the meeting like 4 or 5 times in a very short notice. So like this build up and then this letdown, and right. I'm sure you felt some of that too at the time. And then like, finally, you remember we're sitting there with Vince and you do your thing and the dude's just going nuts. And I'm like, yo, like, this is it. Like this is about to be a deal. Like this is about to be gravy. Do you remember this? And
I remember. I wouldn't say that he was going nuts. No, listen, Sam, listen. I remember that while I was rapping, he was relatively disinterested, and then after the shit stopped, he looked up from his phone and went nuts. And I was like, "You weren't even paying attention, fool!" Like, but looking back at it now, I didn't know what I was doing back then. I was doing like I didn't do the right song. You know what I mean? I didn't have the right shit to play for him. You know, I did my song. I remember I did Relax, my song called Relax.
Yes, you did do that song, Relax. Right.
The reason I did it was because I had just recorded it. So like I'm hyped about shit I just did. You know what I mean?
Did he want you to rap about, did he want you to rap about bitches and cars? Like,
I think it would have suited, like, if I, you know, with my knowledge now, it would have suited me to do a song that has a fucking chorus and maybe a song. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do remember that, and I remember that he was looking at his phone while I was rapping. It felt really weird because then when I finished, he was excited. You know, I didn't buy it though. I didn't buy into that guy.
Really?
I never thought that he was going to be.
But do you remember that he's like, yo, I'm taking this to Jimmy. And then you and we poured up, bro. We had like 4 shots right after. Like, it was a celebratory moment, you know? Okay, and he was like, yeah.
That's what you mean by false start. Okay. Yep. I got you. That's a thought I hadn't had in a while. And it's funny how when you get older, like, memories are so fucking fuzzy, you know what I'm saying? And what's funny is you're saying like, yeah, then we took shots afterwards. I was thinking like, I took shots every fucking day back then. Like, I don't fucking remember. I drank so much back then. I don't remember. I think that shit fucked my memory up too. That whole period was interesting for me because I always had the idea that the music industry was impenetrable. I didn't know you could go into the office. I always thought there'd be like armed security guards outside of these record buildings. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was like that, but it's not true.
Right.
You can walk into the building and be like, I'm here to see whoever. Like it's. Yeah. I thought that if you went to a record company, like if you went to Def Jam building, I thought there'd be 100 rappers out there with their fucking mixtape, and there's not. I'm like, why not? There should be. What are y'all doing? You know what I mean? Let's get back to your false start thing. The thing that I tell people that want to be in music especially is like, I know that Jimmy Iovine said this. I don't know who told me that Jimmy Iovine said this, or if I read it somewhere, if I saw it in a podcast, or you told me, or who, I don't know. But Jimmy Iovine said he's never met somebody in the music business that failed. He's only met people that gave up. The reason that this is true is because the number one most important thing when you're trying to get into something like music is stamina. It's stamina. Like, and then the crazy shit is like, you know, what I was telling you about the hours that I would spend posting those spam comments, like I wasn't getting paid for that. But I feel like now when I get a check for people listening to Spotify, it's a back payment for that. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
All the free work that was done early, if you have success, will come back to you. It will be paid to you at a much later date. But most people ain't willing to put in that much free work. It's a testament to like, how hard do you want to work? How bad do you want it? And also like, how bad do you need it? I just kind of like have to do it. You know what I mean? And just as much as I loved music all my life, I was inspired by not wanting to have a real job. I had so many real jobs that I really didn't want to have that. So that made me work at it too. You know what I mean?
Do you remember working at Ben Sherman at the Beverly Center, bro?
Yeah.
And I was, and at the point you were hard up on money, and I was throwing you some cash a little bit every month just to keep you going, bro.
That's true. Yep. I quit in some crazy way, fucking yelling at the fucking lady. I did a lot. I've had a lot of like I don't like fucking kind of like push the shit off the flip the desk over type of quits. I've had a lot of those quits in my life. It was when I went back to get my last paycheck that she acted like I was gonna fucking physically hurt her or something like that. So she like closed the little dumb gate door in the mall because the store was in the mall. Still to this day, one of my least to this day is that was the last job I ever had, and to this day, I mean, like it wasn't music related, and to this day, it's probably tied with McDonald's for my least favorite job. I always tell this story. This fucking really dapper dude came in. He was, the Ben Sherman's kind of like a preppy kind of thing, yeah. And especially at that time, that was the opposite of my vibe.
I'm thinking like it's a J. Crew vibe for people that don't know, right? Everybody knows J. Crew.
But it's nice. It's like a step up from that. It's like a British. They call it mod. Mod. Have you ever heard of mod?
I haven't heard of mod, but educate the people.
Picture like a British guy wearing like a nice, like tight khakis and like a polo-y shirt with maybe even like an Argyle sweater. I was like on the floor. This guy came up to me, had two ties. He was like, "Hey man, do you think this tie or this tie?" And in my head, I'm just like, you know better than me. Your fucking opinion, whatever it is so much more educated and better than mine on this issue. You don't know because I'm wearing the stupid shirt right now that I have no idea which fucking tie is better than each. You know what I mean? Just the fact that you're shopping here makes you much more qualified than I am. I was still didn't have a driver's license from a DUI period, so I had to take the bus from the Valley to, La Cienega and 3rd or whatever. I
remember that back in those chapters of when we were in music, bro. We got some good memories, bro. That shit's funny. There's another one that's funny as fuck. I don't know if you remember this one, but I think people get a kick out of it. So Wax and I had a lawyer at the time, and we were taking a meeting at Justin Timberlake's little record label.
Yeah, 10-man records.
Yep, 10-man records, yep. And then this is so funny. The lawyer we were using at the time wasn't like really a super high profile.
I could tell you his name. I could tell you his name. I'm not going to, but I could tell you his name.
I would love to fucking throw that guy under the bus right now, bro. I really would, because it was so whack what he did. He almost should get thrown on the bus.
You know what? Like, I think looking back at it, like at the time, I thought it was crazy that he did that. Tell the story first.
All right.
Tell the story
all right.
First.
So here's the story, bro. So Wax and I get us a meeting at the 10-man records. And we're posted up, and this lawyer that we're using, like I said, not a super high profile lawyer, maybe like one tier down or something. And motherfucker emails me. I'm like, yo, we're taking a meeting right now. I'll keep you posted, right? The dude's like, oh, I'm 5 minutes away. I'll be there. Shows up in like 15 minutes, like kind of commandeers the meeting a little bit, comes in like, oh, what's good to see you, to like the label head of Justin Timberlake. Is there for what? Maybe like 7-8 minutes, like, because we're on the tail end of our meeting. We've been there for a minute, 7-8 minutes, heads out of there, shoots us a bill for like 2 hours of work or some shit for like $750 for showing up. I'm like, what?
I know. It was at least like $500, and It was at a time where we didn't have any money, and we certainly didn't have $500 to give this fucking.
And we didn't need that motherfucker there. Like he was sipping off our juice. He was sipping off our juice to like get his relationship going with like that label head, and charging us for it, bro. Like
he just went to the meeting because he knew he could charge $500. You know what I'm saying? But I guess you're right that he had ulterior motives other than that too. But looking at it now, it doesn't, like, dealing with lawyers and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they don't work for free.
We didn't ask him to come. It's like,
you gotta ask him to not come.
Are you serious?
You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's right, but that's how they are, man.
Wow.
They bill out their time,
Yeah. Yeah, that's too
I've heard so many stories like, hey, we should have drinks and celebrate. And then it'd be like 3 hours of drinks, $1,500 on your bill.
Wait, that's happened to you, bro?
Not to me.
Okay.
That's not happened to me. My lawyer that I ended up having, who I haven't had to use a lawyer in a long time, but my lawyer was fucking awesome.
When you're starting out, the dream is to get signed by a major label. When you say most artists feel that way. But then there's the balancing which you did. You got signed to Def Jam, which everybody knows. But then there's the balancing of like what you feel is right in your heart for a project and like what, kind of being beholden to the label's vision for the project. Right. And I think that might be a valuable, you might have some valuable insight on that maybe for people on the way in.
It's going to work out different for everybody. So everybody just kind of has to follow their own road and see, some of it's bumpy, some of it's paved smooth, but just kind of follow your own road. I will say that, that's the major label shit is like, it's best if you kind of have your thing already going.
True.
And they just kind of jump in and kind of bankroll it and be like, keep doing your thing. It wasn't the best situation for me, but I always look at it like if somebody gives me money, I kind of like, okay, I'm working. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what do y'all want me to do? I'm gonna at least try to, I'm working for y'all now.
Almost like a blue collar mentality about it, right?
I agree. And you give it a shot. I think it was a learning experience. I think it was an interesting experience. I think that in many ways, like I said earlier, I feel like I potentially dodged a bullet. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what would have happened if I became like, you know what I'm saying? Like the fucking Rico Suave.
That's so funny.